Why our greatest strengths are also our greatest weaknesses. Watch this classic example as Steve Ballmer reacts to the 2007 launch of the iPhone.
Steve, let me ask you about the iPhone and the Zune, if I may. The Zune was getting some traction, then Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
Not to be outdone, here's what Jim Basali, the former CEO of BlackBerry, said at the time. It is doubtful the device will have much of an impact on BlackBerry's overall sales. For one thing, the iPhone will hold little appeal for BlackBerry's core business market. The iPhone was right in the middle of their domain, and these companies blew it. Why? Some people suggest it was arrogance or hubris, but we believe there's another factor at play. Sports coaches talk about muscle memory, whereby we practice so much that our reaction to a given situation becomes instinctive. Malcolm Gladwell, in his books Blink and Outliers, describes how after 10,000 hours of practice in any domain, be it athletics, music, art, business, or physics, an expert instinctively knows what works and doesn't work. It turns out that the neocortex, the part of the brain in which we hold conscious thought, acts as a giant parallel processor where we search for recognizable patterns. When we think about an issue or opportunity, our brains simultaneously process our memorized patterns to find the one with the best fit. So the good news is when we reach this expert stage, our brains can find the right answer to a new situation in the blink of an eye. And that makes us extremely effective. Our personal expertise becomes a great asset. It's the gift of knowing with certainty whether something will work or not. So in that sense, Jim Basali was correct. At the time of the iPhone announcement, BlackBerry knew exactly what the smartphone market wanted. After all, they had created it. They had listened to large enterprise customers who provided strong feedback to them. And that learning led their growth from $300 million in 2002 to $3 billion in 2007. But the problem is that Jim and Steve both evaluated the iPhone against what was, not what could be. Their brains couldn't find pre-existing patterns that match what the iPhone was about. Well, that's bad enough, except it's made worse by the amygdala. Those glands sit deep within the brain and control our fight or flight response. When confronted with a pattern that does not fit, the neocortex asks the amygdala to determine the appropriate fight or flight response. Once this happens, hormones and adrenaline increase our heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. The result is that we not only know intellectually that this idea is no good, we physically and emotionally feel it as well. And that is why our rejections are so fierce. So, the result is that our expertise is only valid as long as our environment stays the same. When the environment is open to disruption, or when an idea emerges that suggests a disruption, our expertise now works against us. Those well-connected neurons inside our neocortex that made us so wise turn out to act as our own personal antibodies to the potential opportunity. The more experience we have, the more risks we see. The bigger and more disruptive the idea, the taller the incoming tsunami of rejection we experience. This chain of events is what creates the "it won't work here" response of leaders. It's not stupidity, it's not arrogance, it's human biology and the gift of expertise that creates the expert's paradox. When disrupting, our greatest strengths become our greatest weaknesses. To learn more about becoming a disruptive leader and the expert paradox, contact me at john@ennovainc.com or purchase my latest book, Disruptive Leaders, from Amazon.